Holley here. As president of Darcourt Management, I wanted to take a few minutes and address one of the confusing issues that seems to be out there in the marketplace today. And that is the eviction moratorium that was first part of the CARES Act, and then the current, what is being called an eviction moratorium, but it's really not. It's really better described as a CDC declaration. But I want to just take a few minutes and proactively update you, our owner investors, and let you know what the practical effect that it's having on our properties today. As you know, the CARES Act, which was enacted in March of 2020, pretty much gave a blanket protection to all residents on properties that had federally backed mortgages. And really our hands were tied. As landlord owners, our hands were tied, and we could not evict any of those people for non-payment of rent. The CARES Act, however, expired at the end of July. And at that point, our properties and our management strategy, we were allowed to file either 30-day notices and or 60-day notices, depending on the municipality in which the property is located. For example, the city of Dallas required a 21-day notice and then an additional 30-day notice on top of that before we could file eviction proceedings. As many of you have heard, the CDC also made a declaration, and many people are calling that another eviction moratorium. And you even hear on the news that it's an eviction moratorium that extends through the end of the year, through December 31st of 2020. I want to clear up some points because the CDC declaration is really much, much different than the CARES Act. As I said, the CARES Act gave it blanket protection to all residents for non-payment of rent. That is not the case with the CDC declaration, which was enacted on September 4th. So really the practical effect it has on us today, and I'll explain why, is that for us it is business as usual. We absolutely can file eviction notices and give notices to our residents who are not paying. We absolutely can charge late fees again as of 1st of September and are doing so. The reason it's a little bit different is that the CDC really puts the onus back on the resident or the tenant to prove that they will be adversely affected by an eviction. Now, how do you prove that you're adversely affected by the eviction proceedings? Number one, they have to sign a form that's called a CDC declaration form, and they have to do so under penalty of perjury, and there are severe penalties for not being truthful on that form. We're not sure about the enforcement processes on that, but at least it has, as far as the wording goes, there absolutely is strong language on there that says, hey, you're signing this under penalty of perjury, and there are severe penalties if you are not truthful. Now, what does the CDC declaration do? There are really 5 main provisions as part of the CDC declaration. And again, the management company and the properties do not have any legal responsibility or obligation to inform the residents of the CDC declaration or even inform them that that is an option for them. We can file eviction, we can charge late fees, we can file in the court, and we can proceed with our case. If a tenant is aware of their right under the CDC declaration, they can claim protection. And they're really saying 5 things, and they have to meet pretty much all 5 of those criteria. And it really boils down to they have to say that they're likely to be homeless if they're evicted, that they really have no other place to go. It then goes on to say that they are making every effort possible to find government assistance and use that government assistance to pay their rent. And then number 3, that they're actually using that government assistance to pay the rent and not using it for other things. And then really number 4, that they are making a very good faith effort each subsequent month to continue to pay their rent. And then lastly, they must say under penalty of perjury that they just cannot make their payment, whether it's due to job loss or whatever. So really for us, again, there is no obligation on our part to inform them of the CDC declaration. We will file evictions and are doing so. We have several this week. And the tenant can stop it if in fact they file the CDC declaration of protection. That really just gives them protection for about 30 days because situations change 30 days down the road, and if they don't pay the next month, we can still file eviction and they kind of have to go through the process all over again. Now, what are we seeing actually in the courts? We actually filed 12 evictions from one property last week. And the first 6 cases were adjudicated in our favor, and the judge said, hey, you owe this money, and the eviction is moving forward. The 7th person that went in front of the judge actually claimed CDC declaration protection, and the judge really admonished him and said, do you understand what you're stating, and are you willing to sign this under penalty of perjury? The tenant said yes, absolutely. So that one was adjudicated against us. The next 5 people that were in line listening to what was going on heard what the 7th guy said, and while they were not aware of a CDC declaration, they then said, well, wait a minute, I want to do what that guy did, and they also filed CDC declaration. I will say that from a judge's standpoint, he was very stern with them, so we're seeing really good, at least at this point, from this particular judge. He made it clear to them that he was going to give them 24 hours to sign the CDC declaration form and bring it back, and he really admonished them, as I said before, very strongly, and said, if I find out, or if the property can prove that you're not being honest, then I will absolutely throw the full weight of the law behind this and go back on the side of the property. So just understand that the difference in the CARES Act was a blanket protection for everybody that wasn't paying rent. There really was nothing we could do about it. The CDC declaration is much different, and the onus is on the resident or the tenant to prove that they would be adversely affected in several ways. And if they cannot do that, or if it is not to the satisfaction of the judge, then we can absolutely move forward with eviction. So it is business as usual at Darcourt Management. We're filing evictions, we're charging late fees, and we will absolutely proceed as planned. Thank you. If you have any additional questions in regards to the eviction, just reach out to us at contact@darcorp.net. We'll be glad to answer any questions. And again, just happy to be able to provide an update to you to hopefully clear up some of the confusion that's going on in regards to the new CDC declaration. Thank you. See you next time.